Welcome, my dear students. I, Manv Sharma, Assistant Professor in the University Institute of Media Studies, Chandigarh University, India. I am here to discuss certain important factors. I am here to develop a basic knowledge into your mind about the contemporary national and international issues and affairs. And by the end of today's lecture, I am very much sure that you will able to understand some basics of fundamental rights. Yes, fundamental rights. Today, we will discuss about fundamental rights specifically for the citizens of India. When we talk about fundamental rights plays a very important role to live in India. We take a birth on this Mother Earth and we are living in the surroundings or the environment of Mother Nature. But one must need to understand that we are somewhere associated, we have certain identity. That identity is closely related to the working of and the given capacity by the geographical area in which we are living. Let me explain you by the help of a simple example. Me, living in Chandigarh, that is a part of India. That means I have a specific geographical boundaries to live in. I live in my house, my 8 by 8 room. That is a geographical area. You take birth on this earth and you live in a particular place. And to live in that particular place, you must need certain fundamental things, the basic necessity things. You need you need air to breathe. You need food to eat. You need a place to live. But apart from that, when we talk about as a citizen of India, who is the citizen of India? Any person who belongs to India. How you can belong to India? When you are living in a country like India, when you take birth in the geographical boundary of India, you are earning in India and you are spending in India. How one can spend in India? Like you are by the help of your taxes. And for that, government of India have their own, call it as the Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution is the apex body of India. Supreme Court of India, Prime Minister of India, President of India, Chief Minister of a state, the working of a state. Each and everything that we see, the proper legislature and the proper legislator, each and everything that we see, that is given by the Constitution. And same as our today's topic, fundamental rights. Today, we will discuss about certain important factors of fundamental rights. I hope you guys can see my computer screen. When we talk about Indian Constitution, India, which is also known as the Bharat. But what is Bharat? Bharat is the union of states. Union means when you have different geographical boundaries that you call it as states, and you have the union of them. You have more than 2 or 3 states. You call it as a union. As you know, India have more than 29 or 27 states. That is the reason why India will be called as a union of states, which work for the sovereignty, which work for the secularism, which work for the republic and the democracy of a people. Democracy means loktantra, logo ka tantra, logo ke liye logo द्वारा बनाया गया. And that is what is made sure by the Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution provide parliamentary forms of the government for the federal in the structure and certain unity feature. You need a structure, you need a proper hierarchy, or you need a proper way to work. You need a proper things to do. And Indian Constitution provides the same. What is the working of Prime Minister? What is the working of President? What is the working of Supreme Court? And what is the working of Indian citizen? And when you give some duties or maybe some responsibilities, you must give some rights to that person. You must work on the rights of that person. And that is the reason why Indian Constitution provides fundamental rights. Well, when we look at the brief introduction about the word fundamental rights, what is the meaning of the word fundamental? What do we understand by that particular word? Fundamental means anything that is basic in nature. We are living. That is a fundamental right. No one can take our fundamental right till the time no one, kills someone. To live. No one can take your right to live. No one can seize your right. No one can ask you to stop living. And you just can't stop living. No one can do that. What is right? Right plays a very important. But before knowing the rights, my dear students, I just want to emphasize on a very important topic. Before knowing the rights, one must also know the responsibilities. Once you have your responsibilities, then you can simply ask for your rights. But first, you must understand your duties, your responsibilities. Only then you can ask for rights. I'll give you the better example afterwards. But first, theoretically, if you understand rights, right real meaning of the individual when he or she performs a duty. A duty is something is expected or required to do so. Indian Constitution asks for the fundamental duties as well. Indian Constitution asks for the fundamental responsibilities as well. If you are the Indian citizen and if you are following the fundamental duties, no one can take your fundamental rights. No one can take your fundamental rights. Rights are defined as a claim for an individual. You can claim for your rights. You can claim for your right to live. You can claim for your right to equality. You can claim for your right to education. No one can take your that right. But only under one condition: if you are the citizen of this country and you are performing your fundamental duties properly or not. I hope you can see the screen on the image on the bottom right corner. The entry of rights and the fulfillment of the duties have the equal proportion. Equal proportion. You must find the balance. If you are giving 100% in your duties, you can expect 100% from your rights. But if you are not giving 10% of your duties and you are expecting 100% of your rights, that is wrong. Yes, fundamental right is a right for everyone. But one must understand the importance, one must understand the needs of fundamental rights, along with one must follow the fundamental duties as well. Well, when we talk about fundamental rights, like how they entered actually in the market, well, the Indian Constitution was written just after the independence, after the 1947, and the hardbound book of Indian Constitution is ready by the year 1949. After which, in the year 1950s, it got amended, and every work that we do in India is done under the law book or the book of the Indian Constitution. Fundamental rights are the basic human rights that are, restricted in Constitution of India. But why there is a need? But why there is a need to provide fundamental rights? Well, as I said earlier, Indian Constitution provide parliamentary structure. Indian Constitution provide a structural way to live in India, a way to work in India, a way to do things in it. Along with the fact that Indian Constitution also gives certain rights to the Indian citizens, that they can live on this nation easily. Well, fundamental rights significantly enforce the code by the help of enriching the constitution and guarantee. Everything that you see in India, everything that is working in India, that is worked under the Indian Constitution. And Indian Constitution guarantees that if anyone take your fundamental rights, you can take the disciplinary action. If you can, someone violate your fundamental right, you can defame that particular person. But again, the point is, you must first ask from your heart if you are doing the fundamental duties or not. Fundamental rights were ensured or written in the Indian Constitution in the Part 3 from Article 12 to 35 in the Indian Constitution. Part 3 of the Indian Constitution is described as the Megan Card or the Magna Carta, which characterized the rights issued by the King John of the England in 1215, the first written document related to the fundamental right of the citizen. Well, my dear students, as you guys already know the fact that Indian Constitution is made up with the, inspired from different countries, inspired from different countries' constitution, and same goes with fundamental rights. Fundamental rights idea came from the British Constitution of England, and in the England Constitution, it was amended in the year 1215 by King John of England. Fundamental right of the citizens. Now, the question is, why do we need fundamental rights? Why do we need Now, the question is why there is a need for fundamental? Why there is a specific need for the fundamental? Well, fundamental rights are different from the ordinary legal right in the manner they can enforce. If someone asked, like if someone did the murder of two, three people and apex court, Supreme Court gave uh, the verdict to hang till death, then at that particular point of time, he or she didn't ask for the fundamental rights because he or she violated the fundamental right at first by killing someone. As I said earlier, if you violate your responsibility, you cannot ask for your rights. So fundamental rights are different from the ordinary legal rights. If the legal rights are violated, aggressively person cannot direct to the approach to the Supreme Court by passing the law. As I said earlier, if someone did the murder of two, three people and the two, three people, and Apex Court gave the verdict of hang till death, he or she may not and cannot ask for the fundamental rights for himself because the first step is to follow your duties, to follow your responsibilities. And if a person violated that, that means there is a confusion, there is a problem. Fundamental rights are not absolute rights. They are reasonable for the restriction, which means they're subject to the condition and the security for the public morality. Public morality. What is public morality? Moral duties of a citizen. As I said earlier, asking for the fundamental rights, it doesn't mean you can simply ask your rights. Asking for your fundamental rights means earning your rights by providing the duties to the nation, by providing your responsibilities to the nation. And that is the reason why if someone is providing duties, he or she may ask for the rights. Now, fundamental duties can be summoned by the Parliament of the India Constitution Amendment. There is a suspension you can read in your PowerPoint presentation. But what is not there into this PowerPoint presentation is that India, when struggling to deal with, creating a constitution of India, they came across with the fact that there are few people who are working hard for the development of India. In that particular case, what is the reward for them? So the reward is fundamental duties. Now, if we look at simply jump on, if we simply jump on to the fundamental rights, which is the right of equality, right of freedom, right of right to against exploitation, right of freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies. That plays a very important role. Like, what is the need of those rights? Well, when we talk about fundamental rights, and if we go in detailed justification of that right, we came across with the fact that fundamental rights plays a very important role because right to equality is very important in the diverse country or the democratic country or demographic country like India. India is rich in culture. India is rich in religion. There are n number of religions. There are n number of cultures. There are a number of people as well. So right to equality under the fundamental rights guarantee the equal rights for everyone, irrespective of the religion, gender, caste, color, place of birth. I repeat, right of equality guarantee the equal rights for every individual, irrespective of the fact that religion, gender, caste, and the place of birth should not. If you take birth in India, if you are living in India, you are earning in India, and you are paying taxes for India, no one can judge you on the basis of where you are living. No one can ask you a question on the basis of what you are doing because of the fact of what you are doing in terms of your work. No one can snatch your opportunity. No one can snatch your job, your admission, and your place to live just because they think that you belong to somewhere else. Each and every individual in India have the fundamental right, the right of equality. But as I said earlier, if the person is doing injustice, if the person is biased in terms of religion, in terms of gender, in terms of caste, in terms of color, if the person is biased, he or she is not valid to get the fundamental right, the first right, which is right to equality. He or she should be the first person not to ask for the fundamental rights, because he or she is not doing the duty as well. If you give equal rights to someone, you will get the equal rights. If you give equal rights to someone, you will get, if you will give equal rights to someone, you will get the equal rights. And for that particular matter, right to equal, and for that particular matter, right to equality plays a very important role. The another right that we have is the right of freedom. Article 19. Article 19, right of freedom. Freedom is the most important idealistic characteristics of democratic society. We are living in independent India, and as a citizen of India, we cannot, you cannot expect someone to teach you about the importance of freedom, because we know from the core of our heart what is freedom, what is the importance of freedom. And that is the reason why this is the fundamental right for each and every individual to live freely, to have the right of freedom in India. He or she can speak anything. He or she can express anything. He or she can do anything. He or she can associate it with anything. He or she can do any work. Whatever I want to speak, I can speak. Whatever I want to say, I can say. Whatever I want to express, I can express. Wherever I want to live, I can live. Wherever I want to work, I can work, because of my right to the freedom. Right to your freedom plays a very important role. The another type of right is right against exploitation, right against violation. If you followed your fundamental duties, if you followed your fundamental responsibilities, and someone exploit you, someone violate you, someone do something that is that made some damage to you, that means you got exploited. And fundamental right, the third fundamental right, gives strength to that particular injustice. Right for exploitation. You can imply the prohibition. You can imply the prohibition on something that is wrong. If that is happening to you or to anyone else, you have the right to speak against exploitation. There are justified, good and valid amount of clause in the Constitution of India for the working on the exploitation. But if you think someone did something wrong to you, you can ask for the justice. And everyone have the right to ask for the justice if he or she did his or her fundamental duties properly. Then again, under the Article 23 of the fundamental rights, you have the right to speak against exploitation. You have the right. The another fundamental right, which is the fourth fundamental right, is the freedom of religion. As I said earlier, India is the diversified demographic society. For that particular matter, the main strength that we have is diversified culture. The main strength we have is different religion. We are secular in nature. We welcome everyone with our open hand, our wide hands, because of the fact Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Guest is called. And that indicates this particular right, indicates the right to choose your religion. Equal respect to all the religion. You can choose any religion, but you need to provide equal respect to every religion. If you are Muslim, you must need to provide the respect to Hindu. If you are Hindu, you need to provide respect to Sikh. And if you are Christian, you need to provide respect to all the other religions. Give respect, take respect. Give respect is your fundamental duty, and take respect is your fundamental right, which is the right to choose your religion. Another and very important fundamental right that we are generally, what people remember, is the right to education. Educational right. Shiksha ka adhikar, maulik adhikar, moral value. Educational right plays a very important role. The right protect the right for the religion, protect the right for the cultural as well. The full right is right for the culture and education. If someone violate your culture, if someone disrespect your culture, if someone asks you to stop your education, if you feel like you are not able to get proper education because of certain immoral activities, you can ask the apex code, you can ask the government of India to do the justice. You can ask for the question, you can ask for the justice. Right to education is the right for everyone. The another right that we have is the constitutional guaranteed remedy right, or right to constitutional remedies. This particular right purely focus upon the fact that if any citizen do violation to the fundamental rights, the government cannot infringe upon anyone's right. Let me explain you in the very simple words. Government of India cannot take your fundamental rights. And if someone got their fundamental right violated, he or she can raise his or her voice for the justice, and government of India, Constitution of India provide the right justice. Must and need to provide the right justice to that person. That plays a very important role. Apart from that, there are too many important fundamental rights that one should be taken care of. The first is the right to property, which is the Article 7. Each and everyone have the right to get the place to live, a specific place to live. This is the fundamental right that was there in the first and the second draft of the Constitution of India. But in 1978, under the 44th Amendment, this particular right strike off from the fundamental rights. So generally, we have 6 fundamental rights. Prior to that, prior to 1978, we have 7 fundamental rights. But right to property is the legal right, is a legal right for someone under Article 300. You can ask for the property under the legal right. But that is not the point for the government if you're not able to get the property. If your property get violated, you can go to the apex court. But if your fundamental right get violated, you can go to the apex court as well as the government of India. Government of India is purely answerable for our fundamental rights. Let's just quickly wrap up with the fact that give the simple reading to all the fundamental rights: right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of the religion, right for the cultural and education, right for the constitutional rights. If someone violates your fundamental right, then what happened to that person? As I said earlier, if your fundamental right got violated, you can directly knock the doors of the apex court, which is the Supreme Court of India. You can directly knock the door of Supreme Court of India that my fundamental right get violated. I need justice for that. Or else you can go to the high court as well. There is no point to go to the police. You can go to the police, you can register the FIR. But Supreme Court is the ultimate person who is responsible to provide you the right justice against the injustice that is done. Apart from that, this particular, no one can change this fundamental right. No one can say, because you have the right of equality, I am giving you the place of living, but I will not give you the place to study. I will not allow you to study. That cannot happen. No one can take your fundamental right. 6 fundamental right means all the 6 fundamental rights. Right for the legal order. You can ask for the legal order, and Supreme Court and the High Court can issue habeas corpus, can issue mandamus, prohibition, or a warning certificate, or a memorandum, whatsoever is suitable, but to provide the right justice. Fundamental rights is very important for a person. And by the end of this particular lecture, let's just summarize it with line by line that I wrote. The sovereignty, the democratic and the secular character of the policy, rule of the laws, independence of the judiciary, fundamental rights of the citizens are some essential features of the Constitution, are some essential features of a person. जीने का तरीका, जस्टिस का तरीका, रहने का तरीका, जीने की आजादी, रहने की आजादी और एक प्रॉपर स्ट्रक्चर, ये सब आपको इंडिया में मिलता है, बिकॉज इंडिया इज द सोवरेन एंड द डेमोक्रेटिक union of states. And one can directly jump onto the parliament and the judiciary for the violation of the fundamental rights. But you must also understand your fundamental duties and responsibilities. I hope by this particular lecture, my class, you will be able to understand the basics and the in-depth reason of fundamental rights, and you will never forget fundamental rights in your life. You have 6 fundamental rights to understand, to live with, but again, you must need to know about your fundamental duties as well. That's all for now, class. In case of any confusion and query, in case of any problem, in case of any questions related to the topic, you can directly email it to me and you will get the reward as soon as possible. Thank you so much, class. I hope by this particular lecture, thank you so much, class. I hope by this particular lecture, you will be able to understand the basics of fundamental rights, and you will never forget your fundamental rights, and you will educate others like what are the fundamental rights and tell them before asking for your fundamental rights, you must know about your fundamental duties and responsibilities as well. Thank you for now.